Everyone in this room shares 3 common elements. We all were born. We all will die. And in between, we all will experience grief. My talk today is about the in-between, the places and spaces of grief in our lives, and how enabling a world that lets us grieve well will help us all rest in peace. The moment we are born, we lose something precious. The moment we are born, we lose the warmth and the safety of the womb. Life then proceeds forward with a series of losses. They line up in our past, they're experienced in our present, and they profoundly shape our future. We lose time at each birthday. When we gain a new age, we lose the last one. I will never be 4 again, or 14, or even 54. We lose body parts. It starts with baby teeth. I've lost adult teeth. We lose abilities. While once proficient, I will never be a professional musician. We also lose entities that are near and dear to us. Some in this room will have lost a home to a hurricane, will have lost a homeland when they migrated. I have buried 2 cats. Some in this room will have experienced a miscarriage, had an abortion, relinquished a child to adoption, lost their birth parents when they were adopted. Some in this room will have experienced the death of a child, a sibling, a parent, a spouse, a best friend, a dear colleague. Now, some of our losses are passed over quickly and they settle into the background of our lives. Some stay in the present and are grieved daily. And some will signal how profoundly our future is irrevocably changed. But loss is our friend, in that it teaches us to cherish what we had and what we have. Without loss, we would not need nor feel the joy of memory. We carry our losses with us. They are within us, and some are dear to us. They make us who we are. And yet, curiously, paradoxically, grieving a loss is often unspeakable. We do not live in a world that invites the free sharing of grief, that embraces the truth about grief, the ubiquity of grief. We live in a world that is deeply uncomfortable with grief. We seem to be afraid of grief and of grievers. When we see them, we think, there, but for the grace of God, go I. We treat grievers as if they're contagious. And so we turn away because we don't want to catch their grief, because we know deep inside, grieving means we have lost something precious. But when grief is not shareable, when grief is not speakable, grievers are left in profound isolation. Grievers can become intensely lonely people. And this isolation and loneliness breaks down our communities. But grief is not contagious, and grief cannot be avoided. No one here is immune to grief. And so grief is not something to be feared. When grief is assumed only to be sad and lonely and scary, the other sides of grief, the sides that are filled with hope and joy and love, are misplaced and they're hidden. Yes, grief is complex, and it's because of this complexity that is often misunderstood and pushed away. But is the complexity of grief, the universality of grief that gives grief the power to bind and grow our communities. Grief is actually vast. That is, it's big enough to hold space for sadness and joy, sorrow and hope, distress and solace, ugliness and beauty. Because grief is bountiful. So much so that grief can help grow and generate so much that is positive for our communities. Come with me on a trip down Highway 6, where I'm going to show you an example of the power of grief for beauty. At the end of each summer, the Kjipuktuk Cemetery Society opens the doors of the former Kjipuktuk United Church and welcomes community members in to pay their respects to the memories that the church and the graveyard holds. After a short service, the congregation, my family amongst them, wanders through the headstones and the family plots, telling stories about the lives lived. Going through the public archives of a genealogical listserv, I recently learned about a child who was buried in this very cemetery. A listserv member was quoting from family letters dating back to the 1960s. One particular detail caught my eye, and with permission, I'll share it with you. There was a little cemetery. Over one child's grave was a little structure covering it. Mama recalled very vividly that the child had died in winter. The mother couldn't bear to think of the child under the snow. So the father built this covering. We will all have heard of that comforting phrase, rest in peace. Rest in peace springs to my mind when I think about this father's tender act of care. Keeping the snow off was an effort to bring some peace to his dead child and his grieving wife. We can imagine that helping the child rest in peace brought some solace to these grieving parents. By caring for the dead, tending a grave, supporting a cemetery society, we can ensure our deceased family members rest in peace. And this peace can then be transferred to us, the grievers, because if those we love are resting, then so can we. I'm going to share a secret with you. I believe in ghosts. I don't just believe in them. I conjure them. I cultivate them. I care for them. Now, my ghosts aren't spooky. They don't wear white sheets. They don't haunt houses. No, they're gentle emblems of the past. I want to share them with you because when I invite them into my present, they transcend the past and they bring such comfort and peace. For me, my ghosts are encounters in my daily life that pull me deep into memory. The taste of a warm biscuit with molasses, the smell of Chanel No. 5, a cupcake in a pastry shop window, a leaf gently falling in my back garden. I live these encounters as winks from my ghosts, of Betty, my mother, of Nadia, my best friend, of Peek and Boo, my 2 cats. I interpret these encounters, these winks, as my ghosts reminding me of their importance in my life. And it brings a smile to my face. I choose to experience these winks as my ghosts continuing to care for me. I invite you to use this idea, this metaphor of ghosts, to think about how you inhabit your losses and how your losses inhabit you. For me, my ghosts are the absent presence of my dead. Yes, the dead have absented my life. And yes, I can keep them present as I continue to care about them and care for them. As I care for them, I can feel them care for me. Because death did not end our relationship. It changed it. I stay in relationship with my dead. I can cultivate their absent presence in my life. Let's go back to our definition of peace. The definition that we're using today includes the idea that peace is created by being in right relationship with the larger whole of which we are a part. This larger whole must include all of our losses, the people, the pets, the experiences, the things. Staying in right relationship with what we have lost is an essential way to create a world in which we can rest in peace. I dream of a world in which grief is not taboo. I dream of a world in which grief can flourish because grief matters. Grief is a gift that can help transform our losses into a restful peace. Caring about grief, carrying our grief together will help us all rest better in peace. Thank you.